I asked everybody to put a 1 in chat if they're in the EU because this will directly appeal to you and affect you, okay? The point of what I'm about to go through is that there's actually a shift that appears to be coming thanks to you blokes over in the EU. I guess, is Britain still part? I have no idea what's going on over there. You guys are all kind of crazy. We are too, but I think you kind of like expect America to be wild and wacky. And so when you see something happening in the EU, you're like, oh, that's new. But anyway, this is the breaking news. The European Union, I can speak. The European Union is banning the use of virtual currencies to disguise the price of in-game purchases. New requirements include clear and transparent pricing, avoid practices of hiding the costs of in-game digital content, respecting the consumer vulnerabilities, in particular when it comes to children, and more. And you can see the full breakdown of what they said in this post, straight out of Brussels. And you can see direct appeals to children in the advertisements, urging them to buy, persuading adults to buy for them in-game currency or items. That's a no-no. No. We do not do that. The use of pressuring techniques, such as purchase through time-limited practices to unduly influence children to purchase in-game virtual currency or in-game content. A lack of clear and transparent information adapted to children about buying and using in-game virtual currency, leading to consumers to spend more money than they intend to. Can you imagine? Surely that never happens. Failure by the company to ensure that influencers who are promoting their products clearly disclose commercial content and do not unduly influence children with their marketing techniques. This one, I mean, I cannot tell you how many like TikTokers I've seen that are just straight up breaking every FTC guideline, every single, like, I'm sure EU guideline, and they just don't care because there's like no enforcement. Because they're like, oh, I'm a TikToker, who cares? It happens all the time. All the time. It's absolutely insane. One guy, I don't know this guy, but one guy I saw, it was in one of those like auto sponsored TikTok things you see. And I scrolled up to it and it was for some like stupid mobile game. And it's literally, it has the badge, sponsored or ad or whatever it is on TikTok. So it's a paid ad. And the guy's like, they're not paying me to say this, but this mobile game is the best thing I've ever seen. They're literally paying you. What are you talking about? Like you must be 6 years old to fall for that. Like, I don't even know how that happens. But, you know, I guess they don't catch the smart ones. Anyway, the point of bringing up all of this is that this, I think, is a great step forward. The reason why so many of these companies use these like layered currencies is kind of twofold. Okay. The first and most obvious thing is when you have, I mean, even Starbucks does this with their like gold cards or whatever they are. They get you to spend your money, convert it into a secondary currency like diamonds or triangles. And then you spend that money on the loot crate or whatever it is that you wanted. And then that has the shiny thing. I don't know how to jewel. There we go. Ooh, shiny. Okay. There's kind of two reasons why they do this. For one, because when you spend your real world money on a virtual currency, in pretty much every country I know of, if there are certain protections for like credit card fraud, for saying you didn't mean to spend that money on that product, wanting a return, things like that. They, if you were to spend that money directly on the shiny thing, they would have to refund, like take this away and then refund your money back to you, which they don't want to do. They don't want to give the money back. But if they got you to buy a virtual currency and then that virtual currency was used to buy something like a loot box, and then that loot box gave you the shiny thing. Now, if you want a refund for this thing, okay, we'll just give you your virtual currency back. And we keep your money. Easy peasy. So that's one of the reasons, is because it kind of protects them from having to ever do any sort of refunds or anything like that. The other reason, and perhaps the more cynical reason, is because when you spend $10 on 67 Gubu gems, and then you spend 50 of those Gubu gems on a loot box to get a shiny thing, there's been so many layers of transformation between your money to the thing you got that you've kind of lost sight of it. You know, the Goobo gems kind of stop feeling real, like they're actually tied to real money, you know? And that's exactly the point, because you spend $10 on 67 Goobo gems. And so at that point, once they're added to your account, maybe you don't spend them immediately. Maybe it's another day or two, but this stops feeling like $10, which is exactly the point. You're more likely to spend 50, which is, you know, whatever, $8, because it's only 50 Goobo gems and you have 67 of those. It doesn't feel like you're spending $8, even though you are. You're just spending Goobo gems. And so you do this and you buy the shiny thing. What the EU now is saying is that they're going to, under the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network, or the CPC, they're going to launch enforcement action against Star Stable Entertainment AB to ensure a safer, more transparent experience for the players of Star Stable online games, which almost certainly will apply to all of these other companies. It seems like this is not just going to affect the one company in question. And so what it'll be is, instead of paying this to this to this, they have to clearly state this product costs $8, and if you want it, you just buy it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world in which you can just buy the thing you want? Can you imagine not having to spend Goobo gems for your cosmetics? Wouldn't that be great? So I think this is good. The other stuff that's harder to quantify is stuff like direct appeals to children and advertisements. How they typically will do this is like either ads with kids in them, showing them stuff, or like they'll hire like TikTokers or YouTubers or streamers that have audiences primarily of like 10, 11, 12-year-olds. And they'll get them to play the mobile game. They'll get them to do this or that. And so kind of indirectly implying, if you want to be cool like the streamer you like, you should spend money like they did. I mean, you can even, do you remember, hold on. I'm about to fry your brain, okay? You wished you could have wiped this from your memory. All I want for Christmas is a Jake Paul shirt. This is the kind of thing they're banning. Thank God. His audience, but this is also the question. His audience, mostly 9-year-olds, at least back at this time period, 7 years ago. When he makes a video saying all I want for Christmas from my mom and dad is Jake Paul merch, everybody knows that's going to be the children that want that. That's who he's trying to appeal to. Would this be banned? In the EU, would he get in trouble for this if it was like a video game company and he was buying microtransactions in a video game or something? I don't know. And this is where it starts to get like weird, because there's a wide range of what could be deemed as overstepping the line and therefore getting you in trouble, and what specifically would be okay. And this is where I've seen some people counter this. And some people, I've never been so happy to close a tab on my computer in my life. I've seen some people actually counter this and say, I actually hate this, which I was like, oh, interesting take. Because this seems like just a strong W. Like, oh, we get rid of the scummy, like, monetization scheme that is designed to get you to spend more than you mean to. You know, it's designed to do that. Other things like the loot boxes, which also take advantage of people with like gambling addictions and get them to spend way more money than they probably would otherwise if you just had it priced flat. This all sounds good, but I was like, why would some people hate this? And really, it basically just comes down to government involvement in their hobby. They don't like that, which honestly, I get it. It's a hobby. You like the hobby. The idea that the government's going to come in and tell game developers what they can and can't do, I get why that's like an ick for many. But I think when we're specifically talking about some of these like regulatory bodies that are meant to guarantee fair competition, they're meant to protect consumers from scams or from unethical business practices and things like that, specifically with children, then I'm willing to give up that freedom, you know, of the market in that case. If we're talking about a game that's 18 plus only, and you have like, it's only adults, like, you know, online gambling, yeah, it's, this is America. You can do whatever you want. I think the world would be a better place probably if all gambling were wiped out. But it's also like not my place to tell you what you can and can't spend your money on. That's just my perspective. But when it comes to kids, and these companies are specifically, let kids gamble. Spoken like a true patriot. Yeah, it's America. No, I mean, I think when it comes to kids, it's specifically like there's a lot of this predatory stuff that's going on where these companies know what they're doing. They will never say openly, oh no, we're specifically targeting kids with our mobile games and mobile game spending, and we're targeting gambling addicts with loot boxes. And I saw one industry analyst that was analyzing Scopely games. Scopely makes those like mobile games that have all the loot box systems and stuff in it. Shout out DSP, WWE champions. And they were looking at it and they're like, less than like a tenth of the player base, or less than a tenth of a percentage point of the player base accounts for like 97% of all the revenue, which is insane. That's so crazy. That's actually insane. But it's because of like the whales, the people that spend $3,000 in a session playing a mobile game, opening packs, doing polls or whatever. And of course, like companies like Scopely don't like talking about that because I'm sure it's not like their proudest thing. And it's also kind of indefensible when you whittle it down. It's like, hey, if you stop taking advantage of people with gambling addictions, your company would go under. You feel good about that? Do you feel good about that? I don't know. I don't think they would have an answer, frankly. I mean, I don't think they would. Maybe you could say it's a tax on stupidity, but I think with some people, they actually do have an addiction. Like that's actually bad. You see how much money some of these people spend on it. They'll go into like life crippling debt to play a mobile game. It's insane. But these are protections meant to specifically try and make things more transparent. They're specifically going to try and make it, of course, less predatory towards children specifically. And if we're in the US, at least I am, this likely has no direct impact on me. My guess is that all of these companies that are operating in the EU that might be affected by these new guidelines, because right now it's just specifically against Star Stable Entertainment. And I think later it will appeal or affect others. This is apparently some game about horses. Yeah, I mean, pretty clearly this is targeting kids. No shocker there. But this is targeting these guys. And before long, they're going to start enforcing the similar policies against everybody else. So we'll see what happens. But I think more than likely we see everything continue to be pretty much the same in the US and anywhere outside the EU, because they make billions on this stuff. Like by doing this exact stuff, they make billions of dollars. So they're not going to stop unless they absolutely have to. Is Star Citizen cooked now? No, Star Citizen, they make all their money from like 40 plus, working professionals that just have a lot of expendable cash. Like I had one guy reach out to me. He's like, I'm like a senior software engineer with NVIDIA. Like, dude is a giga millionaire, and he spent tens of thousands of dollars in Star Citizen. He's like, I can afford it, and I want to, and I get cool ships, and I play with my buddies, and I'm happy. I was like, I respect it. Like, okay, whatever. Yeah, Star Citizen is like the polar. It's a different side of the same coin. It's not targeting kids. It's targeting like the older generation of like sci-fi fans. But there's a lot of people kind of like that. The elderly, yeah. No, that's QVC. QVC is crazy, dude. It's like that whole South Park episode they did on QVC is accurate. When they were like, the top day of sales for QVC is when Social Security checks get delivered. They know what they're doing. It's crazy. But they specifically target and benefit from like these elderly people that are spending all of their retirement money on crappy jewelry. No matter how much spare money you have, I always somewhat pity Star Citizen backers. It literally is, for some people, I think they're in too deep. It's the sunk cost fallacy. For some of them, they're like, I cannot accept that we've gone nowhere with this. So they just, yeah, I think that's a problem for some people. Others, like, they just honestly, they buy the ship, they play with their buddies. And I've tried to explain it to people, but for some people, like, gaming is not their hobby. Star Citizen is their hobby. Like, their hobby is this one game. And so all of the money you might spend on other games or subscription services to Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, whatever, all of that money they put into Star Citizen. It's all where all of it goes. And it's weird for like standard gamers who play a lot of different stuff to see that, but for some of them, that's just how it is. They just put all that money into it. Still cheaper than golf, I'll tell you what. You get really into golf. One person, we were out at a restaurant, one person told me, he was like, think of the fee to go to the golf course, to rent the cart, to go to the range. It's like, think of them as microtransactions, and you'll realize that your hobby is way more expensive than anybody's student loan addiction. And I was like, how dare you? How dare you? You're triggering me right now. He took my thing. Red flag.